Welcome to our podcast, She's Bridging the Gap, where we're on a mission to bridge the gap through conversations that inspire change and build lives, businesses, and healthier minds. I'm Sam D, and I'm a certified nutrition coach and personal trainer.
I'm Hanah Harvey, and I'm a business coach and strategist.
And I'm Kendra Garrett, a mindset and accountability coach. In this podcast, we're going to bring you the tools you need to bridge the gap between your health, wealth, and relationships. Welcome to another episode of She's Bridging the Gap. Today, we are going to be talking about what do you do whenever you feel behind in life, in business, in all the things? What do you do to get yourself and your family back on track to where you feel like you are getting back into that routine to actually accomplishing things and being productive on things that are important to you and letting the noise of society silent a little bit, where what is important to you can get louder, and that is what you can focus on.
So something that really helps me when I feel like the overwhelm and feeling behind is I have to write out a physical list of the things that have to get done that day. And then I'll have a separate list for like the week or whatever it has to be. And then I feel less overwhelmed because I see physically how many things that have to get done. And then it kind of puts my brain at ease to be like, okay, that's not going to take me very long. I can do that really quick and check it off the list. And I feel it automatically like lifts a weight off my chest every time I go through and just mark off something from the list, and I don't feel as behind.
Yeah, I think that list is such a good way to get things out of our minds and onto paper. That way it's not like, oh, I'm trying to remember all of these things I have to do. You get it out on paper, and that in itself can be a huge relief of, I don't have to remember that anymore. All I have to remember to do is go look at my list.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because sometimes it seems like half or more than half of the overwhelm of feeling behind comes from the fact that like you just have these things just rumbling through your head. You're trying to remember them. You're trying to like make sure you're not forgetting anything. And that's just where the feeling behind can come from, is just because it's all stuck in your head and it's not on a piece of paper.
Yeah, and you could so easily like forget things, and then when you remember, it adds that pressure even more. So definitely having it written down and not knowing that you're not forgetting anything. It's all there.
Yeah, like that. That like moment when you're like your heart drops because you're like, oh yeah, I forgot that.
Yes.
That like heart drop moment. Like, if we can avoid that in any way, definitely do it.
And with that list too, I think you could also, what I try to actually help my clients do is make 3 different lists, which I think you guys do this too, of, what has to be done, what maybe could be done, and what is something that you really don't need to do, or you could outsource or think something like that, to actually have 3 separate lists that kind of roll along with each other as you go day to day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think when I've worked with some of my clients doing it, I mean, depending on like what their needs were at the time, like I've had some clients where it's like they've needed to outsource or they've needed to let some things go. And so it was like, okay, write your list and then circle the things that only you can do and that they have to get done. And then another way that you can write the list is like, do your brain dump, write down all the things, and then write down how much time it's going to take you so that you're not like trying to fit 24 1-hour long list of things to do in one day, when really that needs to be spread across like 2 weeks or a month even.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm guilty of doing that a lot. Like if I have something put on my plate that has like a 2-month time frame, I'm like, no, I got this today. I have to get it done today.
Yeah.
And I think that like removing that pressure and being like, okay, I can spread this out. Like for example, I am still a YouTube strategist and manager. So when a client sends me a video, I'm like, I have to get it all done today. But no, I can cut it one day and then add graphics the next day and then take care of the YouTube strategy another day. Like it doesn't have to all be done at once. So spread it out over time.
Yeah. And that's, I feel like, too, protecting a way that you can protect your boundaries, like your time boundaries of, if you stayed up, late at night and weren't with your family or something because you're like, oh, like I'm going to go ahead and do this right now, even though it's not due for 2 months, that wouldn't be protecting your boundary of the lifestyle that you want to live. But breaking it up does protect those boundaries for you.
Exactly.
Which we were talking about right before recording was sometimes the list of to-dos and some things on our list, we are making them bigger in our mind. It's like making a mountain out of a molehill. If you've heard that phrase of something is becoming bigger than it actually is. Of a lot of my clients have said like, oh, like I don't, like I'm worried about, I need to send this email to a client, or, to set those boundaries, or I need to send this proposal or whatever it might be. It's like, okay, like Hanah, you said, of putting a time limit on that. Sometimes we are taking longer to actually do the thing by thinking about it than just going and doing it. And oftentimes, like if I'm on a call with them, I'm like, okay, do that within the 5 minutes on this call while we're talking, to someone else, go do it. And then it's off your plate and you don't have to think about it any longer. Because I feel like more often than not, we think about it and think about it and think about it. And that is the time consuming and overwhelming process than just taking care of it.
Yeah. It's so true. Just go do it.
Yeah.
Stop thinking about it when you're taking a shower.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not helpful just dwelling over it. So yeah, something else that helps me like put things back into perspective is stepping away. Like I have my list. I know what I have to do. Let me take an hour and just like do what I want to do. Like whether it's watch something on Netflix or go for a walk, whatever it is, something that I want to do that's going to get my mind like back into my body. Because we can so easily just make things so much bigger than they actually are.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need that rest period to just reconvene, like I said, give your mind a mental break.
Yeah.
Come back to it and get things done and actually be more productive than if we just try to push through.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because if you're feeling that like chaotic, like I don't know about you guys, like, but my palms will get sweaty and I'll just feel like super chaotic. And I'm just like, I need to take a step back. I need to go walk in the other room, do something else for a few minutes before I come back to this big old list that I thought I could do in 1 hour. But yeah. I think something else that I think we should talk about today is, why do we feel behind? Like, what is it? And whether that is like behind on a daily basis when it comes to our to-do list, or like behind and just like overall all the things. So why do you guys feel behind?
I think a lot of times I feel behind. I put a ton of pressure on myself where like it puts me in a bad position because I put so much pressure on myself that sometimes I don't get the stuff done that actually had to be done, which is where my list comes in. So I'm like trying to overachieve and thinking that that is going to get me ahead and that is going to make me look better, whether it's to my clients or to my peers. And I think that like letting go of having to be, I don't know, like amazing isn't the word that I'm looking for, but be like that overachiever and like just letting that go and letting yourself do what you can do comfortably without pushing those boundaries and feeling accomplished regardless of how much you got done. Knowing that I did my best has been a way for me to kind of like get away from that. But definitely putting pressure on myself makes me feel behind, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like kind of in relation to that of like putting pressure on myself due to what society is telling me to do, or like I want to please others. I don't want to let them down. So I'm like, oh, I need to do all of these other things. I need to go to these events or these functions or whatever. Yeah. Whenever in reality, like I want to slow down and I want my family to be able to have rest moments and not be on the go all the time, just because that's what everyone else seems to be doing. And that is, my assumption. Everyone is doing it. No, not everyone's doing it, because if I'm not wanting to do it, there's other people out there also not wanting to do that and wanting to create a different lifestyle with different boundaries and things to not just me and my family, but I think it's recognizing what society and that pressure that's being put on, like what they're telling you that's being put on you, and recognizing what is truly important to you and your family to make those priorities. And feeling behind, is it because you are saying yes to something going on every day, every week, every month? You're not ever saying no, which in turn, like when you're saying no to something or yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So if you're saying yes to all those events, you're saying no to potentially, family time, just like your close family time, or going on a walk, or like when you're saying yes to something, you're always saying no to something else. And I think that is figuring out what is needing to be your priorities of what you want to actually say yes to. And then everything else will be a little bit easier of a no.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
so true. And another thing that was popped into my head as you guys are talking was, I feel like as female business owners and as moms, just as human beings, right? Like we're always chasing perfect. If we don't have a clear vision of what our goals are, and then we're just like defaultly chasing perfect. Like, like in high school, I chased being valedictorian. Then in college, I chased being cum laude. And like, and then as a business owner, I'm chasing six figures. And then we're chasing, you know what I mean? And it just keeps going. You're just like chasing the next level of perfect. And you're going to feel behind if you're chasing perfect. So I think that's something that comes up for me a lot, is just like, if I'm not clear about what I really want, what my priorities are, and what my vision is, and not what, the perfect vision is, then I will always feel behind. But if I can really, like you were saying, Kendra, like reprioritize what is actually important to me and what I actually want, then instead of feeling behind, I'm feeling more contented and just happy in how things are going, because I'm on the right track, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think something to kind of piggyback off of that to help you from feeling behind. I think so many times we reach, like you said, we reach the goal of, we reach six figures in our big business and we're like, okay, now we have to get to seven figures. I think taking the time to be like, holy cow, I reached six figures in my business. Let me take a minute and appreciate that before I go and try and chase the next thing. Nobody said you had to do that overnight. So just take a minute and then you won't feel behind. You're not adding more stuff to your plate, like having to reach that next goal. So definitely that's helped
live
too.
in it and appreciate it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot, really.
Right. And it's like, I don't know, it's totally cool if like you hit six figures and that is your goal and that's where you want to stay. Like totally cool. You don't have to go for the next thing. I
Yeah.
mean, it's if 5K months is your goal or 2K months is your goal, then cool. Be happy there. You don't have to hit the 10K months if that's not what is part of your big picture.
Yeah, even if it's not money related, because a lot of people aren't necessarily money motivated. I mean, money can give you different things of time freedom, location freedom, things like that. But it's honing in on, do you want to be a homeschool mom? Do you want to work part-time hours? Things like that can all play a part in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very complex.
It is. Oh man, because it's different for everybody. Like you just said it, Kendra. Like some people I'm pretty money motivated and time freedom motivated, but other people are more motivated by like the actual thing that they're doing. Like, is it fulfilling me inside of work, or is it fulfilling me outside of work? And so like people are motivated by so many different things. And I think that I was thinking when you guys are talking too, is that Sam, you kept saying like achievement and like achieving the next thing. And I think it can also come back to like, what's your personality? What drives you? Like, I forget, is it the the Myers-Briggs or some sort of personality test where it's like you're a like an achiever, a giver, or
Oh, the
the other one.
Enneagram.
Yeah, Enneagram. And it's like, if you can just know yourself and know that like I'm an achiever, so I'm always going to be trying to like check the next box. And if you
Mhm.
know that about yourself, then you can like set those safeguards to know like, okay, you've done it. Now it's time to celebrate, not immediately jump into the next thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, another thing that, which I know Sammy, you were saying beforehand, like we all kind of agreed of oftentimes it's good to talk through things. I am very much a verbal processor.
Yeah.
Whenever I am able to just talk to anyone and get my thoughts out there, I generally receive the answer myself. I'm not necessarily waiting on an answer from someone else, even though that can give me a great different perspective. But deep down, I generally know what I need to do. Sometimes it just takes talking about it out loud to a friend or a coach or anyone just to be able to recognize what I need to do.
Mhm. Yeah, and we've done that with the three of us where we've just been like,
Mhm.
hey,
Mhm.
can we hop on a call?
Yeah.
Talk through
Just to
something.
kind of brain dump with each
Yeah.
other and
Yeah.
brainstorm, brain dump.
Yes.
Or even just be like, this is really frustrating me and I need to talk it out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, and I
Or I
feel
have
like
this
even
new
in,
idea. I need talked off the ledge.
Yeah.
rather than just
Right.
it's
go for
great
it.
because like we all bring something different to the table between life coaching, business coaching, health coaching, YouTube, copywriting, ads, like all the things.
Yeah.
We are able to help and support each other in business and in life because we're able to bring that different perspective with our different strengths and
Mhm.
backgrounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so true. You can find our podcast, She's Bridging the Gap, on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and on YouTube if you want to watch the live video chat.
You can subscribe to our channel now so you don't miss a single episode.
And we're so excited to start helping you build your bridge.